Do you support the Hoosick River revival? Should the Army Corps of Engineers sign on?
Well, you know, you just mentioned Irene, and you know, if we had the revival had taken place, we would have been in big trouble here in the city. I think those flood chutes serve a huge purpose, and it proved it back in August when we had those heavy rains. Imagine if we didn't have those walls, what would have happened? So the river project is a nice thing, but I just don't think it will work here.
You know, I've been working with Judy and that group for 2 years, and actually a little longer than that. And the idea, and the Army Corps of Engineers, I can't remember, Madam Secretary from the Army Corps came up last summer, as you recall, and toured. And they had really no immediate concerns. People need to understand that that the Hoosick River Revival Project in no way downgrades the flood control safety or the effectiveness of the chutes. As a matter of fact, the initial design, is created to give more flood protection around the inner core of the city. So it's not about taking down walls and building parks. It's about cutting back walls. It's about using some of the green space that's already there. It's about building a more natural environment within the beds within the walls. So in no way, shape, or form would Mayor Barrett have, because Mayor Barrett was supportive of this as it came in, nor would I expect Councilor Boucher, if elected mayor, to be supporting a project that would in any way diminish the protection of our flood control. And I am all in favor of the Hoosick River Revival Project because I know by design that it does not diminish our flood control and actually enhances our flood control. And one other quick point. We have to remember that these walls are now 60 years old, approaching 60 years old. We have certain areas of the chutes that are starting to buckle, that are starting to crack. We have one place that's at risk down near Mocha, another up in the chute I believe up further up Union Street. So I think, over time, we're going to have to do something with these walls anyway. But that's just one thing. I just want people to understand that those walls are 60 years old, and we will start to have problems.
But again, on those walls, in condition of those walls, it falls under the Corps of Army Engineers, right? It's not the city's responsibility to keep those walls up.
Okay. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about economic growth and the budget. Mr. Boucher, you said there's fat in the city. Where is it, and will you cut it?
I don't know exactly where the fat is, but if elected mayor, everything's on the table to look at every department and make adjustments and cuts where it's needed. I can't say there's fat here, there's fat there. There is fat within the system. I truly believe that. I think we need to look at every department and thoroughly go through it and see where we can tighten our belts. As for economic development, I think it's important. I asked the mayor before. He says we need to keep plugging. We have a business plan for the Monument Square district, develop that district, and I know the mayor is pretty firmly dedicated to having Conti be a K through 7 school, but in our plan, Conti cannot be a school. It would take the whole plan away from that corridor. We've talked with developers, and I'm very confident, if elected mayor, within 6 months, we'll have a project started. Private investment project started in that corridor.
We're going to go a little further on that. Your plan is a little bit like the one that the Partnership for North Adams put out, only they were looking for an educational
Yeah, they were probably looking for a graduate-type school setup.
But they were also looking to keep some of these historic buildings.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing.
Extremely challenging.
Yeah, so look at the old Sprague Electric buildings and what they did, and they took a part of history with the Sprague buildings and came up with a plan of Mocha. Now, I think that's important. I think we need to save the history within our city, in the steeples and the churches, and find ways to utilize those.
And you think private development will, I'm just saying that
Absolutely.
they're architecturally difficult buildings, and I'm thinking the KB building, which is practically brand new down in Pittsfield, they haven't been able to draw anybody into that.
Right.
So do you think there's some difficulty in keeping these buildings, or are you thinking that we'll have to take some of them down?
No, I think we can utilize the existing buildings. Hey, it was just like Mocha. If they had that idea or tear everything down, it wouldn't be what it is today. And you have to have imagination, and I think you got to be able to link things together. I think it's important.
You want to head?
I think the first question I'd ask Councilor Boucher is who's we and who's our?
Well, that's
When you talk about the plan, you say we've got a plan. It's our plan.
We have a plan.
Who's we? Who's our?
Our people. They're involved in my campaign.
Okay.
We have a plan.
Okay, that's fine. We talk about fat in government, and again, I made that funny comment the other. I won't make that again, but we continue to look for efficiencies. We continue to use the state's audit report. We continue to use Tom Scanlon's audit report to find efficiencies. This year, probably in December, possibly January, I'm going to be meeting with the Department of Revenue to talk about the city moving away from traditional municipal accounting to I had it here somewhere.
Find your notes.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. You know what? I missed something here. Isn't that awful? The sewer
right.
fee.
That happens.
What's the account? I'm sorry.
Well, who's the water quality?
No.
Enterprise?
Why am I asking? Thank you.
Enterprise.
Account. I can never remember that word. To enterprise fund accounting. It's an enterprise fund accounting base where you actually take now revenues from water, revenues from sewer, revenues fee-based stuff, and you bring that in and you utilize that to take care of infrastructure and whatever. So we are going to be looking at that as ways to create efficiencies. And I really think that's the only place. I've been in City Hall now for 22 months. There's no fat in City Hall. It's incredibly lean. There's no fat in the city, period. We're down to 19 people now in DPW, and that includes cemetery.
Does it also include Parks and Rec?
Parks and Rec,
Okay.
yeah, Bobby, period. Well, Brad Columbus, but he's part of the, Anyway, so I just don't see where there's a lot more that we can cut and really still maintain levels of services. As far as economic development, I think that we're making great strides with our community plan, our master planning process. I think we differ quite a bit there, but I think we're making great strides as we move into pulling in public vision. I don't think that as a $36 or $35 million business you can move forward without a plan. This plan, a master plan, will give us opportunities towards other grants, being able to find other grants, being able to identify other opportunities. When you apply for grants, they'll say, okay, do you have a plan? And when you don't have a plan, you have to kind of find one. You have to make something up. I think that we're doing well with that, and I'm really looking forward to continued process working with Berkshire.
Can I also have your take on the idea of using the Monument Square? Because, this was put out, the similar plan, and I've actually heard Dan Bosley talk about it,
Right.
as more than simply an educational center, taking that block. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's doable?
If you take that, well, anything's doable. I think the problem is just finding capital. There's no private investment now. Councilor Boucher said at the beginning, no jobs. How many places in the country are sporting the fact that they've grown and they've grown jobs? If you hold your own, you're doing good right now. And I think when you look at the financial hand that this city's been dealt over the last 3 years, for us to be in the position that we're in, and I have seen what I feel is good growth, decent growth. We have maintained our job base over this period of time. We've kept Excelsior. We've worked to keep Excelsior in town. Crane has made significant investment in the city. These are all things that are quietly done. They just bought the oatmeal cards. A third of their business now is oatmeal. A third of their business is seed company. A third of their business is quality printing. They are looking at 7% growth for next year. These are conversations that we have all the time about economic development. I certainly think a community plan will lend itself well to that also.
Okay.
Mayor, I'll come back and ask you again. How many jobs have you created?
Well, I will.
You have created 0.
No, I don't think that's
Because
the truth.
you know why? I believe this. I believe you need a plan. You believe in visioning exercises and master plans, but the town of Williamstown spent $200,000 on a master plan. Where is it? It's in a filing cabinet somewhere.
I don't think so.
They
I
haven't
think
used it. Pittsfield had a master plan. What did they do with their master plan? Zippo. Nothing.
I don't believe that.
I think it's a waste of time and money.
Well,
I think a true leader has to have a plan and a vision for his people.
So what's your plan for job growth?
We're going to make ourselves creative, and we're going to make ourselves attractive to outside concerns. They're not coming to us. We got to go to them.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And we haven't done that.
Well, no.
We haven't done that.
No. I said,
what's the plan?
The plan is to keep plugging away.
At
And
what?
That's exactly what we've been doing.
Well, but I don't understand what you're saying. You say keep plugging away. What are we plugging away
We're talking
at?
consistently to state agencies. We're talking consistently to regional agencies. We're dealing with the Berkshire Chamber of Commerce, mass development. We're dealing with state agencies on development. We're putting all of our empty parcels. We're putting all of our mill buildings. We're putting all of our large commercial buildings out on websites through these entities. We're continuing to market all the time. And it's just more of it. We just need to be doing more.
But it seems like we do a lot of talk, but there's no action.
Well, it's been 22 months, and we've been pounding out the budget for 22 months. And so in this next coming term, we're going to start looking at that. I said in the last campaign, this is a great time to plan, but not a good time to spend. There's no money to be spending. There's no capital. There's no private investment. This is nationwide.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Right.
But I want to tell you something. Do you think the residents are in better shape today than 2 years ago?
I don't think they're in worse shape, and I'll tell you exactly. I'll tell you another thing.
Yep.
You want to do away with the planning process, so you're basically going to do this in a vacuum. It's going to be we, and it's going to be our. It's going to be we, and it's going to be our people, is what you just said. All right. I'm basically saying we're going to include the entire community in the process of development and growth with a master plan.
That's your opinion, but I think
is.
a true leader has a vision and a plan. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can't rely on somebody else to create
Well, I haven't
that vision
heard your
for
vision
you.
and plan yet.
I've told you, we got a Monument Square plan.
Who's we?
Our people have.
Okay, all right,
I
that's
have.
fine. And
I have a plan.
I have a vision for downtown. I have a vision for the Mohawk Theater. I have a vision for Conti Middle
Well, you know
School.
what? You said you've been meeting for 10 months on the Mohawk Theater.
Mm-hmm.
How come the city council hasn't learned anything of it?
We haven't had anything to announce.
Why don't you keep us informed of what's going on?
We've had 12 years worth of announcements on the Mohawk Theater. Has anything been done yet? Nothing's been done. So what we do is when we have a plan and it's ready to be announced, it will be announced.
Well, I don't agree with that. You talk about being transparent, but I don't think you're very inclusive when it comes to certain
I still
things.
want you to look me in the eye and tell me you didn't know more in the last 2 years than you've known in the previous 10 when you were on the council.
We've had more information available to us.
Okay.
But that doesn't create jobs.
It doesn't create jobs, but it certainly speaks to transparency, and that's what you were just addressing.
Well, you know what? We can talk about transparency after I'd like to. When we talk about the schools and the whole process through the schools. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about transparency and how transparent everything was from the beginning till now.
Okay.
Okay?
We really kind of covered the schools pretty well, so I hadn't planned on touching on the schools
Well,
at this point.
I think the school building project's pretty important to the city of North Adams
Well,
and to the
wants to
residents.
address the transparency side.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's,
Did you address-
again, from the beginning process of the school thing, when you put a school building needs committee together, correct? Now, you guys held meetings, unposted meetings with no minutes to the meetings. Then you went to Boston, you said the community's behind this project 100%. Well, God bless Glenn Drohan. He wrote an article, an editorial in the transcript, and I guess it made its way to Boston. And they said to you, hey, listen, this is not the fact that the communities, there was no public meetings being held. Am I correct so far?
No.
I'm wrong.
You're wrong that public meetings weren't held. Those all were public meetings.
They weren't posted, and there were no minutes to these meetings because I happened to be in the clerk's office, and there was a call from Boston looking for the minutes from the meetings because they weren't there.
No, I don't believe
Well,
that.
I believe it because I was there.
Well, they wouldn't be in the clerk's office anyway. They'd probably be in the school superintendent's office.
They called the clerk's office, and they were looking for minutes for the meetings.
But what I'm saying is these are meetings that are held through the school
But
department.
what I'm
not through the
saying
city
is,
clerk's office.
they said to you at the MSBA, hey, you need to go back to the community and hold public forums. Is that true?
Yes.
It is true.
Sure it is.
Okay, and you had to hold public forums at Greylock, and at Drury, and at Sullivan.
And did we?
And you did, because they told you had to if you wanted to get the money.
But this.
And then, listen, this is what I'm talking about in transparency. At the end, their last meeting at Sullivan Elementary School, you heard what they had to say. You said, you know what, we need to go back and relook at this whole plan. You went back, you didn't change the plan, and you held 2 meetings at Conti Middle School instead of bringing it back to the neighborhoods, especially Sullivan neighborhood, and let the residents hear what's what. You held 2 meetings, unanimous votes, and it was over.
Well, doesn't that tell you something, though? Unanimous vote?
There was nobody there. There was nobody there. How many people were at Conti?
The whole committee was there.
The committee was
School
there.
building committee.
The
I'm
school
asking you,
committee-
what is that?
But the school
what does that
building
tell
committee
you?
was loaded with your people.
No, not at all.
There weren't?
Not at all.
Okay. we differ on that.
No.
But
Totally representative of the community.
I'm telling
Totally
you,
representative
I'm talking
of the community, along with parents from all the schools.
But you know, I'm talking about from the beginning.